Last week, we talked about the origins of this world and the celestial realm. This is all before life and death. This is before the All-Taker. So now, come with me as we learn about the beginnings of the mortal realm. This is the School of the Dead. I'm Andrew Seco, your host and teacher for the day. As always, I'll supply any supplementary texts or materials that you may need to read up on the Court of the Dead, but our primary textbook will continue to be the Chronicle of the Underworld. Today we're going to discuss the origin of the mortal realm. Last we left off, there was a war between heaven and hell, light and dark, order and chaos, angels and demons, Priam and their twin Abraxiel. The war would pick no sides because Priam and Abraxiel were powerful in equal measure, and the twins finally acknowledged that there would be no victor in the war. But the factions of angels and demons were far too fractured to come together again. And the twins were apart from each other so long that they could not come back together again. There would be no balance for as long as they stood. It would take something cataclysmic, something truly unexpected to end the war. So Priam and Abraxiel made a pact. They would meet in a plane of unclaimed, unformed territory, and they would, in a sense, come together. They would attempt to form and create balance. Not in their image, not in their magnitude of power, and definitely not of their nature. They would create balance by coming together and falling as one. And while the details of this meeting are largely unknown, what is known is this. The energy and etheria that emanated from their fall would completely destroy each other. The explosion was supermassive. It shattered them and fractured reality in its own right. It tore asunder creation and created two new planes of existence. The majority of their etheria would go to the mortal realm. Now, the mortal realm isn't our mortal realm. It's not our Earth, but it is Earth. It's similar to our world, but different. And that is where most of the etheria in reality resides. And the plane where Priam and Abraxiel met would become the realm known as the Underworld. Both realms would know balance. For within the Underworld, from the wreckage of their pact, Priam and Abraxiel created a single child, Death. And Death was balance. He had equal parts Priam and Abraxiel. He has light and dark, order and chaos all inside him. And at the moment Death was created, so was its opposite, its balance, life. In the mortal realm, humans would rise, and in them they too would have light and dark, order and chaos. The underworld was between the celestial realm and the mortal realm. So the celestials could no longer gather the etheria from Priam and Abraxiel, and they would need etheria to continue their war. Etheria that was mostly gathered on Earth in humans. But let's look at the mortal realm. Let's look at the mortals. They are brave. They fight in a world of monsters and monstrous men. They fight for what they love and what they believe in. They're fighting inside themselves to find a balance of good and evil, order and chaos. This balance that we all struggle with can tear people apart, and yet we're still standing, fighting another day. This fight inside us in some ways has shaped the world around us. We long for the order of structures and community, but the chaos of creativity drives us to aspire for more. These warring natures can build upon each other, and here in the mortal realm, they do. Etheria gathers inside of us, building as we learn and grow. Most importantly, perhaps, is the fact that etheria gathers to what we pay attention to what we give our energy to. That could be a teddy bear, and undoubtedly there are tons of teddy bears practically glowing with etheria bursting from the seams. But there are just as many broken battlefields and blades dripping with etheria like blood. The energy of the universe gathers where our attention and actions gather, and the Celestials only want to manipulate us. They want all of our attention, all of our etheria, and so there are wars over whose heaven and whose hell is right. The Celestials have pit humanity against themselves, all for their benefit. See, the more passionate the human, the more etheria in their soul. And the more passionate they are about war, the more likely they are to die in one. And of course, the more that die, the more etheria the Celestials get. It's simple. All they needed was a collector. And that, as you know, is the one they call Death. Though he is not the reason for death, so he doesn't like the name. He didn't commit these acts of violence. He didn't propagate the imbalance in humanity, just like the Celestials and their twisted symbolism did. He's simply the reaper of all humanity and all souls, an all-taker, the all-taker. The Celestials, having been there moments after his creation, insisted upon his dark purpose. A purpose he didn't desire. A balance he did not agree with. It was not balance at all. It is not balance at all. And he would not accept this eternity. And he did not. The All-Taker would form a plan for himself and for all of humanity. A plan for balance. A plan for the All-Taker to rise, conquer, and rule. And that is the origin of the mortal realm. Of course, to learn more stories about the underworld, go back to episode 1. Like many things in the Court of the Dead, School of the Dead is cyclical. Be sure to check out the Chronicle of the Underworld, the graphic novels called Grave Tales and Shadows of the Underworld. Get ready for the War of Flesh and Bone graphic novel, and be prepared for Demethyl Rise of the Reaper General novel. Keep watching, keep reading, and keep an eye out for what's to come. Thank you so much for watching this and every episode of School of the Dead. I have been your host, Andrew Seco. Now I will go with you, and together as mortals, we will rise, conquer, and rule.
Hey, did you like that video? Well, be sure to subscribe by clicking the S icon on your screen and click that bell icon to be notified whenever a new video is posted. If you'd like more information on the items featured in this video, click the link provided under product info. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to let your geek side show.